and welcome to this first episode of OilPlacements at Oilgasm.
Hey Rudransh, how are you doing?
You didn't let me answer the last question, did you?
Okay, yeah, please go on. What is the price of petrol?
Mumbai has definitely crossed the annual mark because I was reading the news article on it.
Rudy Bolo, how are you doing?
I'm good. Nice to meet you all.
Rudy एकदम intimidate हो गया है दोनों senior को देख के.
This is my last job.
Already recording, so we will edit it somewhere or the other.
It's hot and sweaty, and I have tanned a lot, so a lot of sunscreen.
Clearly tanned a lot.
This is officially going to be our first episode. Like,
तुझसे compare करेंगे तो obviously हमेशा गोरी रहेंगे.
one thing that I'll take away from this interview is Arvind's attitude, especially while he is filling up on the recruitment and going for a job.
We promise to hype each other up.
यार तारीफ कर रहा हूँ यार, मतलब मजाक थोड़ी कर रहा हूँ मैं इधर.
Recording हो रही है. I think सब सही.
Cut. This is Tuneer and welcome to Oilplacements. At Oilplacement, what do is we basically bring in industry freshers in the sectors of oil and gas and energy, and we interview them. We discuss their stories of making it from their college into the sector, into the industry. They tell us about the process, they tell us the fun stuff, the work culture, how was their experience, and how do they get in over there. And I'm extremely excited today because I'm going to interview my seniors over here, and I have to say really good stuff. Otherwise, my college में जब जाऊँगा तो मुझे बहुत मार मिलेगा. So I'm having Soumya and Arvind with me. Both of them are doing their internships at BASF, which is one of the most prominent oil and gas sectors. And thank you for giving your time, and I'm super excited to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to be on your team as well.
Yup. I did not spend any time introducing both of you because, to be honest, both of you have terrific resumes. I mean, I was just going through your LinkedIn profile. Soumya, you have interned first at BSF, and then you went into you have interned first at SUEZ, and then you went into BSF, right?
Yeah.
And Arvind, you first interned at RIL, and I guess you interned twice at RIL.
Yeah.
Two different positions, and then you made it into BSF, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I'll come to the entire process of what you were asked and the entire journey into the like final placement or the internship part. But what I really want to know is that इसके पीछे क्या जाता है, right? Let's say एक तो है कि चलो मैंने कुछ नहीं किया अपने 4 साल या 3 साल बहुत मन लगा के पढ़ाई किया. I studied a lot. I focused on my GPA, and then I, sit for placements in my 3rd or 4th year, and then I get into it. एक तो वैसा है, but how did you people approach it? Let's say from your first year. I'm not now asking about the BSF placement questions and all. We will come to that later. Tell me, like, when you entered the college, what was really going on in your mind? Ki, okay, like, did you at all have the entire idea that I want to get placed in a sector or I want to get placed in a company?
Not at
How
all.
were you really planning it up?
As in my first year, like I don't think I had any plans of going into any internships. By my second year, by the end of my second year, I don't think I had any definite plans. Yes, I will go into the manufacturing sector or into the oil and gas sector. So by that time, I was just like freely floating around, studying my courses and then just passing time. That was about it. I don't think that I had any definite plans for my first year. Yes, I will be going into manufacturing and I will do all my courses in that regard. No, I just approach it like, okay, मेरे को अभी computer science पढ़ना है, ये first year में चलेगा, ये पढ़ के bye bye, and that is about it. I don't think there is any significant amount of time that I did spend on going into, oh yes, I will go into my chemical engineering sector with a heavy art passion. No, I think it just came around by my second or my 3rd year. Then it became like sort of serious key. I don't think I'll be going into the non-core placement as such. Definitely geared more towards the core industry.
Okay, and Soumya, you?
Okay, so I would suggest everyone to just enjoy their first year, man. First year में कोई भी, they don't come with the intention to get placed in after 4 years. It's
That's
just
true.
yeah. I mean, we were in the same group. Arvind and I are in the same group. So all we did was roam around. That is all.
Yeah.
And there was this Tech Tattva karke fest. You might be aware of it. So I was more
That was the MIT's fest, MIT
Yeah.
Manipal's fest. Yeah.
It's the Tech Fest of MIT. So I was more into, exploring that side, like exploring fests and how the categories works. So I kind of discovered informals in my second semester,
Yeah,
and that
can you
kind
tell
of
what informals is for
okay.
our yeah.
Okay. Okay. So informals is one of the supporting categories for Tech Tattva and Revels. And what we basically do is organize fun games and photo shoots, and make like basically the vibe of the fest. We are responsible for creating the vibe of the fest. So yeah, I was a part of that, and I joined as a volunteer in the second sem. Uske baad, it kind of stuck, and it went on till the sixth semester when, like, in the fifth semester I became a category head, and then sixth semester we category head. So what I'm trying to say is, I did not really focus on chemical as much. I was more focused on how I should get through these 4 years of college mentally, and I found my haven in informals basically. So that is where
What
I
do you mean by
started.
that, Soumya? Like how I would get through my 4 years of college mentally? Like what do you mean by that?
So when you're new to some place and you're like completely a stranger, you like, especially for me, I became a little skeptical, and my mental health deteriorated in the first year. ठीक है?
Why so?
So because
I am heavy
there
stuff.
was no one around that I would consider as my friend. I took a bit of time to adjust to the environment of Manipal, even though it was a pretty easy environment to adjust to, because it's like literally everything is over there.
Yeah.
But still, like, you have to be sure of yourself, and coming from a place of like preparing through IIT from 11th and 12th, and then facing that rejection of IIT, and then joining Manipal. So I was in that mental headspace that I wasn't good enough for
Okay.
IIT. So after that, adjusting to Manipal, and then accepting Manipal and the people around, and then finally realizing how amazing Manipal is, it took a bit of time. So after that, yeah, basically through my second year, I was working in informal till 4 a.m. But then somehow that helped me kind of clear my mental space, and then, increase my GPA as well, because, I could focus on my studies during NSEM, but I could also focus on, enjoying basically. So, coming back to your point, nobody thinks about placements when they join, or nobody, has a map of what they're gonna do, because I thought I would want to be placed in a core company, but throughout my 4 years, I've realized that I like management more.
Okay.
And during the placement season, I talked to a lot of my seniors, both in core and non-core. And one of the best advice that I got was, you have to decide as soon as you're, as soon as possible, you have to realize what field you want to go into, whether you want to go into a non-core field or a core field. And that will clear out a lot of hurdles throughout your 4 years. So during my placement season, I realized that I want to go into a commercial side, and one of the obstacles was that I was in a chemical engineering branch. So one of the main questions that when you're going to a chemical and when you're going for a commercial role, the first thing they're gonna ask you is that, why do you want to go into a commercial side even though you're a chemical engineer? Why not core? So that was the reason I wanted to get into a chemical industry and the commercial side, so that I can, clear that hurdle and stop that obstacle from coming into my career.
That's super cool. That's super cool. Like Arvind, you were also part of some club or any
Yeah, I was a part of like ESOM,
yeah.
which was like the Economics and Finance Society of Manipal. So basically, at that time it was a small little club. I think now, like currently, when I was in my fourth year, I saw them doing a lot of activities. So basically, yeah, even I was engrossed in some of my club activities. Basically, Economics and Finance Society of Manipal, like like when they organize technical events, like introducing people to the realm of finance, and how exactly does the industry work around it, and like what are the multiple segments in it, like supply chain management, even the treasury department. So basically we organize a lot of fun.
Arvind, I guess you have muted.
So basically,
You're on
was
mute,
I on mute
Arvind.
for this whole thing?
No.
Okay, yeah.
Just a
So
small part.
basically, even
So
our
you
club,
were
like
dealing with the
even
fresh
dealt
and
with
economics
calling
part.
on our few alumni networks have already established some like startups. So bringing them in, having a discussion with them as well, like similar to this as well. So like what exactly did they do during their 4 years, and what exactly was their motivation to start a company, because it's a pretty big responsibility, like starting a company or going into a job. It's just two different worlds. So having conversations with them there, and even like organizing and writing articles for the club, that was something that I heavily enjoyed, like reading about geopolitical issues in the world of finance. But basically, like I published around like two articles. One was on the word of like the Indian rupee versus the dollar, and why is the rupee weakening against it, and like the other was on like on a contemporary view that why exactly is the Venezuelan situation getting horrible day by day. So yeah, definitely it was just something that I had some focus on, because originally when I had some interest in reading and writing as well. Even in my 10th grade, I was in my editing team of the school as such. So even this was something that was dear to me, and I just kept on working on it.
That's super cool. Just what I want to know from both of you is that, let's say when somebody is in their first year or a second year, like Soumya, when did you take the call that you are meant for management and your heart calls out for management? And Arvind, when did you take the call that no, I just want to work in the core sector and in the core region? What was that stage like? Was it in the mid of your third year or somewhere in second year? Where?
Okay, so when I was a category head for informals, I kind of got confused about what was going to happen in fourth year and which companies I would apply for.
And
But
this was
then
your third year?
this was third year.
Okay.
Yeah, this was around fifth semester. And after that, around seventh semester, when the actual placement season started, that is when I realized that I want to go into management.
Arvind, what was like when did you
Yeah, so for me, my calling came like around in my third year, like after my second year was done, my dad just one day sat me down and he's like, "Bete, kya plan hai?" And at that time, I was like, क्या प्लान है मैं भी पूछ रहा बता तो मुझे प्लान क्या है मैं भी बोल देता हूँ and then at that time I realized that I just had to get into chemical because I did not see myself going down into a coding line because I could not code for shit, like just to be very
okay.
frank here, like I think I
Okay.
got a D in my coding like subject, so that was just there. And second, I did not like that line of the industry, and like it's something that I did not find any interest in. But then even in my home, like even my uncles, they were all engineers as such, and even they worked in these companies, so even they have certain interests. And when I was talking to them, and even they started telling me about their stories, like, oh yes, like this is how they work in the Middle East, this is how like the energy sector works. They started telling me a little about it. That's when I thought, like, let's go dive into this line. And that's when I started like getting into my internships, get learning more about the industry
Mm-hmm.
and how exactly does it function. So yeah, even like when it comes into the oil and gas sector, this is something that even I read about on a daily basis, like what exactly are the day-to-day activities, as in like even with Exxon drilling for more oil in the Guyana region. I think even you are aware with it. So yeah, this is something that I try to read up on. It's something that I'm passionate about right now.
Yeah, the present oil spill is one of them.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
ocean caught fire. That's something.
Yeah, that looked so, like
It looked cool, but then it is still going under.
Really, it did not look cool at all, man.
no,
It
it,
was.
it was like looking like some monster.
Yeah,
It was
there was like a meme about it as well, as in like from the source of the fire, Godzilla was erupting out playing a trumpet.
yeah,
Totally
yeah,
awesome. Totally awesome.
yeah. Okay, now like most of the people when they are applying for, let's say, an internship. For example, I applied for an internship very early. I applied for an internship in my first year. The reason for that is because I had no clue as to how I would, like, what are my interests, what my interests are. I just did not know. I wanted to explore. So what I was doing is I was applying to as many places as I could, writing enormous number of mails, and whosoever gave me whatever job, I just did it, including sales. So I have done sales, I've done business development, as well as, let's say, I researched for some time at CDRI and all of those. So I've, like, whosoever gave me what, I just did that. How did you people approach your first internship, when you were applying or you were writing mails? Because one thing that I have come across is that, uh, when I am searching very rigorously, I really am not the person who has the power to choose. That I can't write to, let's say, a company and say, ki, sir, you're saying that, okay, you want to take me for business development and sales, but let's say I specifically want to work in the domains of operations. The next thing that I know that they will say is, okay, bye, then I don't have a place for you.
So definitely, like working in this industry, one thing that you realize is that referrals do help a lot. So like if
Yeah.
your parents or if you know somebody from the alumni network that works in some company, then they can definitely reach. Then you can definitely reach out to them. Be like, sir, like I came across your profile from the alumni page of recently people have graduated from this university. Even I'm from this university working along this field, and I'm curious about this line. So could you? And I've also applied for this position. So could this something be like you could refer me here if possible? Because referrals do help a lot. Because even in my second year when I interned in Reliance, it was only through referrals because my dad knew somebody working there, and that is what helped like process my application and I could intern there. So referrals before your third year placements do help a lot, and I think that is the only way I think like engineering students in from our college can like
Yeah,
Hmm.
no, I'll come to that part. I'll come to that part where you seek help and referrals. But let's say you just setting up your mindset कि हाँ मुझे मुझे कुछ भी मिलेगा and I'll do that. Was that the mindset for any one of you कि यार अभी तो कोई भी मुझे कोई भी internship दे दे in any field, I just want to go and explore. Did
yeah,
any of you do
definitely,
that?
I don't
definitely.
I
Yes.
don't think that internships in your first year are a way to go because you're still pretty new to the whole field and you don't know what you want. So the best thing you can do is go for club recruitments. That
Uh,
is, because internships may there's just too much hurdles everywhere. And if you don't have a reference, you will not get into any company in your first year. That is what I think. So the best thing to do is on a smaller scale, go for club recruitments. Join as many clubs
hurdle
as
in
you.
the sense.
Hurdles in the sense like Arvind mentioned referrals.
Hmm.
Also, since you don't have any work experience in that area, so the companies are skeptical of you recruiting you basically.
Okay.
And they would not want to recruit you just because you want to try new things, to be very honest,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah,
don't have time for that. So the best thing you can do is go for club recruitments and join as many clubs as you can, and then see what you like, and then you can leave that club in the second year if you want. But then at least you'll know what happens like in different industries, and like Jesse Arvind joined ESOM. ESOM is a great club, and I joined Leaders of Tomorrow for improving my public speaking. So
Okay.
something like that.
so yeah, I
Whatever
think
weakness
even
you have,
Tunir was
that's
talking about the same point itself, as like just how we can try out the various different clubs. I think even Tunir was trying to reflect on it, like no, since there are various roles in chemical engineering, as in, starting down right at the plant itself, which is process engineering, and then moving on to sales and business development. You only find your interest in these roles once you actively are in it. Instead of reading about it online and then actually being in the plant, working an 8-hour shift every day, and having a day and night cycle as such. Only then you will realize like how difficult or how how much you value the field of process engineering. Because even I talked to my seniors before, like even when I was like in my Reliance internship, I was talking to my as in place seniors in already in Reliance, and even they told me like before they thought that they wanted a sales and marketing job, but when they actually interned in a sales and marketing place, they found that it was not their calling. And then they actually like then they sat in for Reliance, and then when they started working in a plant, they enjoyed working there because they had their friends alongside, and they were just loving the environment. And simply because
Yeah.
it also helps their applications for masters as well, because spending time in a process engineering plant tells you a lot, not only about the specific process they're dealing with, but also about the industry as well. So again, Puneet, I think you're right in the case that if you want to experience the true flavors of the industry, you'll have to sit in each and every role, dive into it,
Go
work.
and find and explore that. Okay, हाँ ये मेरे लिए है, ये मुझे अच्छा
Yeah,
नहीं.
definitely, definitely.
That's great. So, Arvind, you told about how you got your first internship through a referral. I'll come more to that as to what you did over there and how it went. But Soumya, like, how did you get your first internship?
through referral as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So our industrial, I think most of the students get industrial training through referrals. But then, since we have companies coming in our third year, so then we give online tests and interviews. But yeah, I think my first internship, almost everybody's first internship is through referrals itself.
Yeah. So, like, it was at
It was
like which industry did you?
Reliance. It was at
Oh, it was
Reliance.
also Reliance.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 I'll come to this part where you people can talk about what you did at Reliance, but most importantly, one of the challenges that I find most of the students facing is the hesitation to ask for a like ask their parents or ask their uncles or aunts that can you please refer me to this company or this and that. Especially with lot of my friends, I see कि अरे यार नहीं माँ बाप की मदद से नहीं जाना है, and this kind of kind of a mental block where they really think that if I ask my parents or if I ask my uncle, then it is not really my achievement. I mean, why do you think most of the people are into this kind of a mindset, which is completely wrong? Because either you
Because
have to get into there, do the work, get the experience, and then get hired in a company, or else it's not
yeah,
happening.
because ideally, the reason that people hesitate at first asking about referrals is because they've never done it earlier. Since you've already given a lot of exams, you've given your JEE, you've given your other CET exams as well. So you're familiar on how to give big exams as such. So you won't be hesitating to give your final exam for manipal as such. You wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
End semester exams. But since you've never asked somebody for a referral or how it is, so they're unfamiliar with how exactly does this work. They don't realize that this is not only asking for referrals is not only a BTech thing, but it is a very big MBA thing as well. So this the asking for referrals, so can you refer me to this position, is not only happening across the junior positions but also in the senior positions as well. So the sooner or later that the veil that like, oh my god, asking for referrals is such a big thing. Unless and until that myth is busted, I don't think people will be more upfront asking for referrals, because this is something that is a very, what should I say, essential thing. If you want to get your foot into the door, asking for referrals or going through your alumni networks is something that every student should learn about. Because even when you look into for students when they go into their masters, they would also have to map certain professors as well, as in approaching professors and being like, sir, I'm a student in this field, I have done my internships and research work in this division, and I would like to know more about this in your college. So like, could you please be putting in a good word as such? I'm completely unaware in that field, but I'm aware that this is certainly something that people should do, because it only increases their chances. And what's the worst that can happen? The worst they'll say is no. That's the best thing. That the worst thing they'll say is no. They won't be like, oh no, you just asked me for a referral. Guess what? I'll just blacklist you out of everything. No, this does not happen. The worst thing they'll be like, oh, currently there is no position available for you. We'll try for you next time. That is the worst thing that can happen to you. The best thing is they'll be like, oh, there is a position. Here, give me your resume. I'll just process it, and then you can sit for interviews. And that's the best thing there is. So there is no like literal con as such asking for a referral, but the people hesitate because they have never done something like this ever. Like I mean, to be honest, even I haven't done something like this on a very regular basis. So even I'm sort of new to this, but I do know that this does happen, and this is something that students who want to explore more opportunities should do. Definitely, like reaching out to your alumni, reaching out to your if your parents know somebody, then that is definitely something that students should look into.
Soumya, what's your take on this? Why most people feel hesitant to ask their parents for a referral or uncle for a referral? Do you think it's a cultural problem that we have? Like बचपन से इतना एग्जाम लिख लिख के हम लोग बड़े हुए हैं, and then let's say if we have failed in a few exams, we feel कि ऐसे ही हर जगह पे जाना है. Do you think that is the case?
I think there are two main areas that you have to look into. First is the Indian mentality that you are greater than everybody else. So that is the first block. So that is when you're like, I can't ask for help from anybody. I have to do this on my own. Like that. And the second thing is that you're worried about the outcome. Like, what if you don't get in? Or what if you don't receive a reply mail? Or what if they don't accept you even after you send your resume? So these two hurdles are something that like Arvind said, it's very important that you get used to asking for references. And one of the things that you could do is go on LinkedIn and search for the company, and then search for people working in that company and from your college, or for the role that you're applying for. So you can there's something called InMail in LinkedIn. So you can send out like just a template like, hi, my name is Soumya and I'm interested in working in your company, and I would like to connect with you, know more about the job, and I'll send you my resume. You can go through my LinkedIn profile, and if you like my profile, then maybe you can refer me to your bosses. That is it. That is all you have to do, and then you have to forget about it. And अगर वो reply करेंगे तो they'll reply. Otherwise, just move on. That's all.
The best thing we can do is try. That is about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like doing something is better than doing nothing, man. It's always better.
So I think for the viewers, for those who are watching this, especially let's say students, who have mostly, especially middle class students, I would say, like me, who have struggled to pretty much to get into a good colleges and stuff. Uh, Good college, I'm saying in the sense that, like, not like in an IIT and all, but let's say for any middle class, I guess studying in Manipal is a financial struggle also. So let's say, and mostly I've seen that even I was also struggling with the same kind of mindset कि माँ बाप से जाके अभी मैं मांगूंगा कि थोड़ा हेल्प कर दो एक रेफरेंस के लिए, तो वो कहेंगे अरे हेल्प ही करना है तो तुम्हें क्यों इंजीनियरिंग पढ़ा रहा हूँ. So that kind of struggle I'm saying. For those of you who also come with this struggle, I guess one of the best learning that Soumya and Arvind told us is that you can't do anything just alone. You have to ask for help if you have to move forward. And I guess the trick is to know how to ask for help, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely. You can't just like be
हाँ,
like, sir,
कि
job.
भैया help कर दो. That's not what.
It's not
That's
something
not.
because even they get like
You
100
don't need
emails
to
regarding
sound
this.
desperate, I say.
Yeah.
हाँ,
You could
हाँ.
just tell them that you are applying for it, you want to know more about the field that they're in, and you can just ask about like what exactly did they do and how exactly did they plan on their career. Because we see a lot of our alumni who have attended schools, business schools, as well as masters plus PhD, and then going into an MBA. So you could just ask them what was their motivation to do this the dual degree, or like how exactly did they plan out their career. Like did they get any scholarships? So even you can get some insight into them, because if they did get some scholarships, even you could apply for that. You can get some financial relief in that aspect. And even they can ask like how exactly did they find their first job after coming out of college or something like that. This will certainly this insight that they give to you will also be beneficial for like a lot of students.
Yeah, I think most of Indian students, we just need to develop this attitude of talking to unknown people a bit more
Yeah.
freely,
Yeah.
especially through LinkedIn. We are taught this, no, that uh, अनजान लोगों से बात मत करना. I think that is a complete lie, and that is a very wrong teaching that we all get.
Certain aspects, yes.
Yeah,
Certain
and
Yeah,
it's like for
like
me, huh?
yeah,
You were
yeah.
saying
Soumya,
something.
go ahead.
I think for me, it's personally more of the fact that I have a bit of ego, but at the same time, I'm scared of talking to people because I know that I won't be able to speak as properly as I can when I'm talking to a senior person. So that issue, but also you know, I am in a very good college and I am doing chemical and I have interned at this company. I still have to ask for referral now. So there are two aspects of
Ah,
this.
अच्छा, अच्छा,
तो
अच्छा.
वैसा yeah, but then it's a pretty good culture for references because then you can get to connect with more people. There's like a benefit of networking, and there's also since you want brand names in your CV in the beginning of your career, that's a very good thing if you have brand names in your CV like BASF or like Reliance. So this kind of boosts your CV a lot, and that is
Does
only
brand name really matter? Like, let's say, like I'll just give you one example. So I know a few people who have the certificates of real big names like Indian Oil and stuff, but they don't know really anything about what they did over there. It
It's not
was
exactly about the
yeah.
brand name as well. As in, like, brand name to some certain extent does help, but not exactly to the major extent of what did you do there itself. Because, when they look into your resume,
Mhm.
give you a job because you've interned at Reliance or because you've interned at BASF. The first question to you would be like, what exactly did you do
What
there?
did you do in
And if
that
you just
company?
be like, yes, sir, I just sat there, I don't know what I was doing there. They told me to learn something, I didn't. That's about it. Then it'll be of no use. The best thing to do is to like what exact role did you do there, what exact skills did you learn and what exact skills did you develop. That is something the recruiters look for, and I think that is something that every candidate should look for. Like beyond the tag of working in such a company, they should always look at what exactly are the skills that they will be developing. Because to be very frank, when you look into BTech roles, companies have no next to no plans for management, especially in the manufacturing sector. Companies don't. It's basically a routine job. Even if you look at postings in the plant itself, it's like a cycle plant of 8 hours each, like 3 rotations of 8 hours each day, afternoon and night cycle. So what exact skills do the students learn during that is something of value to the recruiter, not exactly to the brand or what exactly is a company or where exactly did they intern. Did they intern at the head office? It's not something every recruiter looks at, but the role that they perform there is of very immense value.
like, I guess, Soumya, you're just saying that there is this 0.1% that it, like, let's say if both of one has done in a branded place and an unbranded place, but both are of the same knowledge, then maybe the one who is done from a branded will be at slight age. Is that what you're trying to say?
Okay, so how I kind of see it is that when a recruiter looks at your resume, the first thing they'll see is your work experience. And if you have a brand name, the first thing that comes to their mind is, oh, acha, this company recruited this guy. So maybe it's a good thing that I will recruit it, then he'll perform. Okay, so that is all, but that there's a very big probability that you will not get selected even after you have a brand name in your CV. And that is when during the interview, if you don't know what you did in that company, like Arvind said, you have to know the skills and you have to have that, communication power to communicate to that person what you've learned in that company. You can't just sit around and do nothing.
Ah,
So, for me, especially, I go for brand names is because when a recruiter looks at my CV, they'll know that, acha, okay, this company, this girl was worth it, and this company recruited that person. So I think I can give her a chance, and that will get me an interview. And then in the interview, I can prove my skills, and I can prove that I'm efficient, and I can be, a big part of that company, or
I
I
give you
can
best.
use
Yeah.
my skills to that company. Yeah. So that is how I see it.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Like now coming to what you people did, let's say, like what was the work that you did, Arvind, at Reliance?
Basically, like in the process
You can tell
engineering
for
part.
both of them. Like you, in
Uh,
terms of
दो
Reliance.
मिनट I'm so sorry for interrupting. मेरा laptop का battery जा रहा है. I'm gonna join again. Until then, you can talk to Arvind. I'll
Yeah,
join from another computer.
no
I'm
problem,
so
no problem.
sorry.
Yeah, so basically, when I was interning in Reliance in the like in the, as in the process engineering plant, I had no next to no responsibility because I was just an intern, so no way they were going to give me any actual responsibility in the plant. So my basic role was just to like learn about how exactly does the polypropylene division of Reliance, how does the machine works, what exactly are the outputs of the machines, and like the basic process underlying, as in they're getting propane, they're cracking it, and then they're going it through a polymerization process, and how exactly are they drying it and then going into the processing phase, as in where they're bagging it up, and then that. So the entire month was just coming in, seeing the whole process, and then offering some insights, like doing some basic mass transfer stuff, as in so nothing complicated in that regard. But then, like when Reliance came into actual placements in my college, so definitely the internship did help. So at that time when they were so when it came into that, I was offered like a role in either process engineering or marketing and sales. And I was put into the marketing and sales division. And in the marketing and sales division, the one major aspect in that is market research. As in, because the companies have certain product lines for everything, right? They have a product line for lubricants. They have a product line for, the coating sector. They have product lines for the, as in like the polymer processing sectors as well, as in companies
Mhm.
that have injection molding machines. So yeah, so the first thing that like in my basic internship and even in the BSF one was to conduct market research, as like the market that I am going into, what exactly is the complete potential of it, as in like how much revenue could be generated like on a whole scale, and who exactly are the competitors for this, and where exactly do they function, who could be the major clients, and what could be the major forecast for the industry. As in, for example, in my recent Reliance project itself, it was for Reliance was bringing out a C9 plus. Basically, it was a solvent as such, solvent for the paint industry. So my work revolved around, as in finding out who are the major players in the paint industry first of all, and also who all supplied a similar product as ours to the paint industry, so the competitors list, and what exactly was their product. And since these products are also available on their website, so if any technical specifications could be found, and then finding out about more about the paint sector, as in where exactly is it going, because in the paint sector I think there are like two kinds of paints. One is a oil-based paint, and the other is a water-based paint. The key difference being that the solvent in the oil-based paint is generally like organic as such. So the
Mhm.
Reliance C9 Plus will be definitely a solvent for these guys. So yeah, so my key work in marketing and sales was to like basically market research the entire market, identify the forecast and the trend, as in where exactly is this market going towards. As in, let us suppose the industry will move from 10,000 crores to 20,000 crores in the next 2 years, and out of these sectors, which will be the most rewarding sector? Because in paint, there are multiple sectors. One is for your industrial coating, as in coating that goes onto your machines as such, and the other is a decorative paint, as in that goes onto your walls and buildings. So finding out like how much exactly would these sectors grow is something that every intern was there expected to do. So yeah, so when it comes into business development, your first job is market research about the product, as in
Okay.
what is the market, who are the competitors, what are they supplying, and where exactly do we win, where exactly do we lose. So this was something that I had to identify in my internships.
Uh,
That was the thing.
let's say when you're doing a product research and let's say a competitor analysis, did you also have to visit, let's say, a few competitors and discuss with them, or is it all
Yeah,
that you
as
could
in like,
scrap from website and
so currently,
technical
no, no,
details?
no. It was like in my BSF internship, it also had a very major element of primary market research. So all I had to do was, not only identify the companies who made these products, but also to talk with them, regarding, like what exactly do they think will be the entire production of this all over India, like, or
They
like,
think in the sense who?
as in like in my PSF internship, it was with respect to water treatment chemicals. So I
Okay.
had to talk with respect to the water treatment chemical manufacturers and ask them the segment for how exactly, like for example, let us suppose if I was talking with the field of coagulants, all right. So I just had to conversation with them like where exactly do they get their raw materials to make these coagulants as, or how much are they selling it for, and what exactly do they think the market for this will evolve into. So contacting these people, asking even their competitors who are they, also gives you a insight into your possible clients as well.
I
So this
see.
is something that primary market research is also one major aspect if you're looking into newer product lines. For example, because my work was with respect to to put it simply, working in descalants and anti-scalants as such. So
This is you're talking about in BSF or in Reliance?
and this was in BASF. So
Okay.
again, so for those of you who do not exactly know what anti-scalants or descalants is, so now they must be aware, right? Like in the process industries, they use groundwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those groundwaters are contaminants, right? Yeah,
Yep.
so those contaminants, when you subject them to temperature changes, the water just evaporates and leaves the impurities behind, and that creates a blockage in the pipes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my work was to identifying the chemicals which remove these blockages.
I see.
Okay, so that was my basic work. So calling those chemical manufacturers, asking who their major competitors were, how big was this market? As in let us suppose like was this market 100 kilos per month big, or was it 100,000 kilos per month big? That was my primary focus. And what exact materials did they use to create these chemicals. So yeah, so diving into like what exactly makes the market work is something that you do at the ground levels of marketing and sales. Then once you identify the competitors, you identify your competitors, your clients, and then you can pitch to your clients and be like, sir, I know that you're using these products, but let me introduce to you a better formulation for you. This is also cost effective, or this is also way more effective in solving your problem.
I
And
see. And
yeah,
that part is done by the formulation department, I guess.
yeah. As in, like, the formulation department and also the sales team, they work together and they work, with the client, and they help them in, creating the perfect blend that allows them to, create these chemicals.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. I see. And you had like, how was your mentor? Like, how was your mentor at Reliance? I'll come to BSF in a moment. But tell me
Yeah.
first, how was your
Uh,
mentor at Reliance?
my mentors at Reliance were extremely helpful, as because these weren't the people that who had worked in the industry for around like only 2 to 3 years, no, but they have like spent more than a decade working in the industry, so they definitely know all about from where exactly are they getting their products, where exactly are they making those products, and how exactly to sell these products. They knew all about it, so definitely even I was in one of their client meetings as well, and watching them work was something like I was like mind blowing, I must say. Again, so because the professionalism they held and also the conversations that they had, like even though the questions were very informally based, it still gave them a very big idea on where exactly is the company even aiming to move towards.
Hmm.
So these people definitely knew a lot about the industry. So working under them definitely gives you an idea on where exactly you are and where exactly you should aim to be. So
I see.
when you work with these people, you definitely get a very big idea that these people are not here to like just sit and crunch numbers. No, they definitely have a much bigger plan, because I was in the Reliance Oil to Chemicals division, which is one of the newer divisions when it came into Reliance
This is
Industries.
the second time when you were in Reliance. Like,
Yeah,
you
this was
got.
through the campus placement hiring. So yeah, so definitely when I talked to them, I could clearly see that these guys definitely had a very big 5-year plan with the companies, and they were discussing the manufacturing quotas, as in like, sir, हाँ सर, अभी पेंट सेक्टर में ये हो सकता है, तो इसके लिए प्रोडक्शन कम करना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो प्रोडक्शन बढ़ाना पड़ेगा वैसे. So this is how much like this is the level of detail of thinking that goes into this.
And let's say when you just got into Reliance for the first time, there also you had the same experience, or there the experience was different?
There also, I mean, again, definitely, because when I was working in the plant, the Reliance plant was previously owned by IPCL. It was originally a government property. Reliance brought over it. So the people who worked in those plants have also worked for the previous, like the previous company there as well, and they have worked there, I think, for more than 20 years. I think for more than 25 to 20 years. So obviously they couldn't be there to babysit me around the entire plant. But when I saw them working, even though their plant work was routine, they definitely had a very big, sense of responsibility to it, because they dealt with a lot, like, keeping the safety around the plant, and also to make sure that production numbers stay high. And also the way that, the polypropylene plant works is that Reliance has a lot of grades for polypropylene as well. Okay, depending on every application. So they had to consult with the marketing team and also with the productions and sales team as well, ki as in, okay, so what are your estimates ki ye grade kitne mein bikega, ki ye grade ke liye kitna abhi hame banana padega. So this was definitely something they also had to chalk out. Ki, sir, abhi, for the next 2 months, our production of polypropylene of this grade should be 200 tons. But for the coming months, thoda sa hum lean time dekh rahe. So it should be only around 100 tons per month. So, they have to plan all of this, because these plants, right, they cannot shut down at any cost. Okay, so these plants run 24/7, 365 days a year. And shutdown is only done when there is, where severe maintenance is required or some regular maintenance is done. Otherwise, these plants work. So because I'll tell you how exactly, why, when I asked my mentor, he, sir, why are you valuing every minute of every hour? So because they told me this thing, one thing, like, the reason that they go for, optimization in this industry is that, let us suppose that, when trucks come in to take out the material, right? So when the trucks come in to take the material from their plant lines, and if they could find a way where, the truck loading times and the unloading times, or even let us suppose that a product grade takes around 1 hour to dry, okay, before it goes into baggage. So if they could, like, make sure that, that drying time gets reduced to 30 minutes a day. So 30 minutes a day gets close to around, like, what, 30 minutes, 15 hours a month. Perfect.
Yep.
15 hours a month, extended to a year, that's 200 business hours that they have saved on the idea of drying. So that means they can process more product. So yeah, so definitely. So when
Okay,
you
that's how they quantize and calculate time.
yeah. So again, so they definitely have a very long process for these. Yeah, they have a 5-year spending plan. They have a 1-year spending plan. So definitely, when you work into a plant, you see a lot of these things. You just overlook it, because the simple fact of even drying a product after it goes into a process is not something that you look at and go, "Whoa, it is that important." But if it is something that saves 200 hours in a plant, then that is definitely something you look at and go like, "Oh, I overlooked this aspect." Even the same when it comes to delivery companies as well. So if you take a delivery route A that makes you spend $20 on, like, 20 rupees on toll, and if you take a delivery route B that takes around 10 minutes more, but you spend like around $5 on toll. So this is also definitely something that could be a cost saving measure for the company as well, if time is not that big an issue to them. So yeah, so small changes in a plant on one day itself will impact a year operation.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Now I'll come to Soumya. Soumya, like, what was the kind of work that you were doing at Rail in your first year? I mean, in your first internship. Sorry.
Okay, so I was in Reliance Patalganga, which is near Panvel, in Mumbai, and that plant was almost shut down. Like, it was half working, it was half, like, not working.
This was in,
And this was what?
this was in which year?
This was after my second year,
So that's
after fourth sem,
yeah. So that's basically 2019, right?
2019. Yeah, 2019.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I did not go into a lot of detail of the plant. I just studied the process because, like, 1 year in chemical, you don't know much about the process as such, and you don't know much about the subject. So my focus was understanding what a PFD is or what a PNID is, understanding the symbols that are used in a PNID, and just the basics of how the process is working and where the flow is happening and from where to where it's happening, and then that bit of space management that okay, there are like stacked reactors over there. Why are there stacked reactors over there? Or why is there a single reactor over there? Why is there a clay tower over there and not a distillation column? So understanding the basic and the reason of how the plant is developed, that is what I did in my first internship.
That's cool. And like at the end of it, you people, I guess, had to make a report and submit,
Yeah.
right? Acha, one important question is that let's say there are many students who let's say want an internship because they want to earn money. Whereas there are, I guess, the first internships that you get in through referrals, do they pay you? No,
No.
right?
No, no.
No.
It is rare if they do pay. It is
Yeah.
rare if they
It
do
is
pay.
very rare.
Rare
Yeah.
if they do pay.
Yeah. So like, what's your advice on that? Should you really not focus much on money at the beginning? Like, let's say if I get an internship, which is like I want to get placed in the core chemical sector, but I'm getting an internship which is really high paid. You know, like let's say some 30,000, 40,000 they're paying me per month. But at the same time, I'm also getting another internship, let's say at Rill or Indian Oil, where I don't make any penny. So, which one should they take? There is this kind of dilemma that comes in. So, which one
I,
should they take? In your experience?
Ideally, it depends from candidate to candidate. So when I had my internship, first of all, I had frankly nothing going on at that time. So if any opportunity that came across my way, I'm definitely taking it. But
Okay,
if there is something that was paying me something other than my chemical engineering line, I'd see into it. I'd look into it and be like, if this is something that I want to do ahead in line, then definitely I'll take that opportunity instead of the one that pays me nothing. But I would say this is a very subjective answer that varies from people to people. Some people want paid internships and they'll value it. Definitely that is something that is good for them, and that is something that the industry should look into. But yeah, so this is
Soumya, for
yeah.
you, how was it? Like, because you completely wanted to get into a management role.
Yeah.
In fact, as of now, also you want to switch into management, and most of the management-based internship they actually pay you, unlike most of the chemical internship.
Huh. Okay, so first of all, if you are a BTech graduate, you don't get a lot of management internships because you haven't done a management degree. Like you don't have any experience in the management sector.
Does that
So
matter? That whether you're a BTech
um,
or an MBA, does that matter really in today's time?
it depends on what your needs are. So what I see, how I see it is that I don't have much experience neither in the chemical sector nor in the management sector. All I have is my studies and what positions of responsibility I got through in my college. So I don't have much of a choice when it comes to, like if I have multiple roles and I have to choose one, then I'll choose the one that gives me a greater exposure. So but then since like if you see an industrial training point of view, you don't really have much of a choice because you don't have any experience in the chemical field, so you will not get any internships if you don't go through referrals. But then once you have a bit of experience, your value increases. So once your value increases, your monetary value will automatically increase. So in the beginning you'll have to negotiate a bit with yourself that okay, let's do this. And because it's basic common sense, like the more you know, the more you're valued.
Yeah,
So your basic goal should be to get as much experience and as much exposure as you possibly can, not think about money in the beginning years. And then once you're confident about the fact that you can do this job or you can get into this department without much help, then you can apply for internships and then companies will come to you and companies will pay you.
that's great. That's great. Now we come to the BSF part, where I want to know that how you people made into it. So yeah, Soumya, this time you can start. That how did you really make into BSF? Like, tell us the entire process, like from the first day itself. How did it start? You got a message on your WhatsApp official group that register for this, and then what happened?
um, okay, so BSF came to our campus in February, if I'm not wrong, and
February 2020,
February 2021.
2021. Okay.
Yeah. And till then, all the placement season was almost over. So I had literally no hopes of getting placed. I was just like, okay, let's just. And I think Arvind, I texted Arvind. I was like, bro, BSF aaya hai. And I think they're coming for a technical role, and I don't want a technical role. So do I apply or not? I don't know. So Arvind is like, अरे भर दे, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, कुछ भी मिलेगा चलेगा. Like at this point, you just need to get placed and stuff. I'm like, okay, cool, let's fill it. So that is how I filled the form. Like I say, because I was like shot down from a lot of companies before. Like during if placement season starts at what March 2020 it started. It was almost a year, and we had not been placed. And that
You also worked at SUEZ, right?
rejection, huh?
You also worked at SUEZ.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to ask about that. How was that? That went nice.
That was it was okay. I can't really say anything because I you have mentioned the company name, so I can't really say anything. So
Yeah, but I guess I mean in 2020 when SUEZ came, the work was completely from work from home, right?
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that might have been a struggle.
in SUEZ, my internship was basically a sales research or a market research.
Mhm.
And I think like all the internships are basically research or increasing the efficiency of every process, like Arvind mentioned. So if you're going in a commercial field, they give you market research or a sales profile. And if you're going to a core department, then they give you a particular process in the whole production line, and they tell you to make it more efficient. So so SUEZ, they were launching a new product for reducing coal dust emissions.
Okay.
So what usually happens is in thermal power plants they use coal. Like a lot of, I think 80% of India's thermal power plants they all use coal still, even now. So one of the processes of using coal for heat was pulverization. Pulverization means making it into finer grains. So basically, just mixing coal and crushing and grinding it. Yeah, that is what you can say. So when you're transporting that pulverized coal from one place to another, it'll emit a lot of dust, which is very serious and very harmful. And also when you're storing coal, like there'll be huge heaps of coals in the power plant itself. And the surface of coal is hydrophilic,
Hmm.
so it can attract moisture and it'll get sticky and it won't get pulverized properly. So that will reduce the overall efficiency of the thermal power plant. So to reduce these hurdles, that is what the product was for SUEZ. So
Okay.
this was a new product which was going to be launched, and one of my projects was to survey how, like, what is the demand of the product in the market. So I had to contact thermal power plants all over India, and I had to create a database of what the requirements were and how our product can help them, and then pitch the product to them. That was my project.
And you had a mentor for that too?
Yeah. I had the sales director of SUEZ as my mentor.
Okay. Just small deviation, like how is the work culture at SUEZ? It's cool?
It's very lively, like, to be very honest. It's everybody's just so excited to work there. I'm like, oh my god.
I know.
I
I think speaking to Ananya some other day, yeah, when SUEZ had come, she was also saying that the work culture is amazing.
Yeah. Everybody's like really helpful, and it has a flat management, so you can just talk to like the director, and then he'll talk to you if he has time. Obviously, like he won't be like, "Oh, you're an intern. I won't talk to you just because I'm a
Okay,
manager." It's just like, yeah, you can just schedule a meeting and have a conversation with him.
that's super cool.
Yeah.
Fine. Getting back to the BSF procedure. So you had called Arvind, then you people were discussing कि क्या करें उसके बाद.
Yeah. So after that, we got a mail saying that we have a group interview. And usually, what companies do is they take an OT first and then they have a GD and then an interview, right? So BSF out of nowhere just mailed, "Ek din, this is a list of people and let's just have a group interview." And I'm like, okay then. Because OTs are my weakness. I don't clear OTs that well. So I was like, oh, wow, great. During the OT, I don't know if I should disclose it or not, but okay, I'll just tell you. You can edit it out later. We were given a scenario that we are on a sinking ship and we have 15 items. The list was given to us,
This is
and we
OT or
have
this is during the group
this is
discussion?
during the group discussion. We didn't have any OT.
Yeah. So at BSF you were directly called for a group meeting or GD?
Group discussion.
Okay,
The
GD. Okay.
GD, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, this part can stay if you want. I mean, this
Huh,
doesn't.
okay. So we were on a sinking ship which was on fire. Okay.
Okay.
And we were given a list of 15 items that we have to prioritize. as to if you are to go on a lifeboat and if you are to save yourself, what items will you take first? So
Okay, that's super cool.
yeah. So we were told that we have like 10,000 bucks in cash, and we have two lifeboats, and all people can fit in that lifeboat. That was one of the assumptions. So like we had stuff like a map, a mosquito net, and fireworks. So what will you take and what will you leave in the ship? So that was our discussion, and we had to come up with the priority list in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, because obviously the ship was on fire. So, yeah, so that took about 15 to 20 minutes, and we still couldn't come up with a list because it was a virtual discussion. And our voices were all overlapping, and somebody was saying something, somebody was saying something else. So we managed to get like top 10 things at the end of the 15-minute session. Uh, and based on what we had chosen, then we were asked questions.
So how many people were there in this GD?
Total 13 people.
Okay, including you and Arvind, right?
Arvind
No,
was
no, no,
new.
no, no. I was selected through another process. As an
Okay,
He got
I'll
into
get to that.
BSF through off-campus placement, like off-campus.
Not exactly an off-camp. I wouldn't call it off-campus. Not exactly. It's a little bit different. I'll get to it.
Fine, I'll come to that. I'll come to
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Arvind, yeah.
Okay. So then we were asked questions like, if you could throw one person out, who would you throw out? Or if you could, choose one person as the leader of the group, who would you choose? And if you could, if like, and then individually we were asked to rate others, and we were asked who performed the least well out of all you people.
Okay.
So that was a bit challenging. It was like a moral, huh?
It was a bit awkward.
It was, yeah, definitely awkward. And, it's like deciding between your morals, man. Like, you can't answer some bit. You can't, if supposing we three are having a GT, and if I perform the least well, so Arvind will take my name or not. And,
मैं तो बराबर ले लेता था.
so,
My first job would be to pick Soumya off the ship. One man died down.
supposing Arvind performed the least, should I take his name as a friend? But then I should also perform to the recruiter also, but then it's against my morals. So it was all a very big dilemma. So, and then we were asked whether we could have done anything that could have made the session a whole lot better. So these were a few things that it was a bit tricky. But then BSF recruiters made us like really comfortable, and they said that you needed to have an open discussion. And what they would so in the during the end they asked if we had any questions for them. So I got a bit I got a bit on a daring side, and I asked, what were you exactly looking for when you were asking these questions? Like, I didn't phrase it like that, but I was
This
a
was
bit
during
more
the GD, or this was during the.
yeah, this was during the GD. So
Okay.
one of the recruiters, I asked them, what were you looking for when you asked these questions?
Okay.
So, and how would you prioritize your list? If you were on a sinking ship, how would you prioritize your list? Would it be different from ours?
Okay. And this you asked after, like, while
After
with-
the discussion was over,
Okay.
they said, like, every recruiter asks you na, whether you have any questions for us.
Acha,
In the end, वैसे. So I asked them, and then sir was like, "Acha, we look for teamwork, and we look for like how bold you are, your leadership qualities and stuff." So it was a very like healthy discussion. And one thing that I liked about BSF a lot that I did not find in any other interviews was that they wanted us to make our preferences clear in the beginning of the interview itself. They did not leave it up to them. Like usually what recruiters do, like what students do is whatever department you place us into, we'll be fine with it. But then BSF was the opposite. BSF, what they did was they're like, do you want a commercial or do you want a technical internship? Tell us right now, and we'll place you over there if we have any vacancies. But you cannot be on both ends. You can either be in operations, or you can either be in commercial. You can't be in both.
Okay.
So I think that was something that recruiters should do more often, because I went into the mindset that even if I had a technical internship in BSF, I'll somehow go through it. I didn't really want a technical internship. But then since BASF is a very good company and it could look good in my resume, I was like, okay, let's just do it. But then, they you pointed at everybody and they asked whether you want a technical or a commercial role. And I said I wanted a commercial role. And they were like, okay, if we like your interview, then we'll obviously hire you. So that was something that I really liked about BSF.
That's cool. That's really nice.
Um,
Okay. So
and
post the video, what happened? Yeah, sorry, you were saying
I can't
something.
hear you. I can't hear you.
No, go on, go on. Please
Yeah.
go on.
Huh. So after that, yeah, and they said that they'll contact us in 2 days. Okay, and I didn't hear from them for like 3-4 days. Like though, then I was like, okay, they'll call. It's okay, they'll call. Okay, and then I was texting Arvind. I was freaking out. I was like, bro, call nahi aa raha, bro, call nahi aa raha. And then they took a bit of time. Yeah, they took a bit of time to come to reach back. They took about a week. And this, like, I was sleeping on a Sunday morning, and I get a call from HR. They're like, "Arey, we liked your profile, and would you be interested in coming to Chennai? And is there any like issues with your family that you would want to stay in Mumbai or do a work from home internship?" So all this was addressed, and then he asked me whether I want to go into sales or supply chain. So they were very clear as to where and how each intern will be placed, and they didn't hide it from us. They didn't make the recruitment process very ambiguous. They're like, okay, we have this position, this position, this position, which one do you want? They made the recruitment process very transparent, and that is something that I really respect from the HR department of BSF, because usually the students are left very very like in a half-assed mental state that is like ये क्या होने वाला है, हम कौन से department में जाएंगे. We wouldn't know that until we actually do the internship. But I knew that if I get recruited here, I'll be in the supply chain department. So I'll be like, okay, cool. I know what I'm going for, and I know that I can do it. So
Yeah, that also gives you a space to prepare yourself and research
yeah,
on
exactly.
yourself also.
Exactly. So that is how I got the internship. Yeah.
So after GD, there was an interview round,
No, nothing.
just
Uh,
one GD, and that's all.
One GD and then like one call, individual call from our HR, and that's it.
So one individual call. That was what? That was that Sunday call that you said.
Yeah. But I think only a few of us got it. Not everybody got it. It was just to place us in every department. It was
Okay.
like an informal call. It wasn't official.
Okay, like in the GD, wasn't there any technical questions asked or any kind of questions like, what is, let's say, I don't know, what is supply chain, or can you please talk about a few supply chains?
In
Nothing, none
GDs,
of
the
that kind.
topic is the idea is not to test the candidates, like how exactly he does, how much of his GK does he know, but how much can a candidate speak and what exactly is he speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, because when you speak in a GD, the first criteria that they look into students is to identify those who did not speak during the GD, because we certainly companies when they hold GDs, we do see a lot, like I see a lot of my friends who did not speak at all during the GD. And so I was like, so it was not something surprising that when they were not selected. So first, the companies that they generally like to see is the candidates who are not speaking up during like a speaking event, right? So that is something they definitely look out for. Then amongst the candidates who do speak, then they like evaluate the ideas, like what exactly was the thought process, and then on the basis of that, then they do select. But I think the preliminary point of a GD is to how good is his communication skill, and for example, they don't exactly want bullies during a GD.
Yeah,
A person who
exactly.
just keeps on speaking over others. This is also something that they identify. Like this candidate just shuts up other people up. To emphasize his point. They also look for people who build on other people's points, or compliment others. So showcasing like a little bit of teamwork. That yes, his idea was good, and to build on top of that, I would also like to recommend X, Y, Z. This is also something that should be looked out for in a GD, as candidates who do like to do some kind of what should I say, helping each other out. That is also something that the recruiters look out for.
Yeah, like you shouldn't like overpower others, just to get into the front line. It's all about teamwork. Like you have to lift each other up, and that is something that recruiters, value a lot.
Fine. So I guess in BSF, what they really want to test is what kind of work culture do you inherit? Like, have you
Yeah.
built in yourself? And that is what they just want to see.
Okay, so I'll tell you from a recruiter's point of view how they recruit people.
Yeah.
Those tangible skills like learning about the process, or learning about how this distillation column works. All this is teachable. All this can be learned and picked up. But skills like, teamwork or leadership, it's a little inherited and it cannot be taught to someone. It can only be experienced, right? So they look for people who have experience in that, in those skills that, okay, you know how to communicate your needs, you know how to lift people up, you know how to encourage someone, you know how to scold someone if they're doing something wrong without making them feel bad or without being offensive. So these qualities is what they look for. And honestly, a lot of companies do help us in doing courses. Like they'll tell us, okay, maybe after, if we recruit you, you can do this course beforehand and then you can join the company. So these courses are teachable. So they won't focus a lot on that. They'll focus on skills like communication skills or leadership skills, or how well will you gel with the work environment of the company.
Yeah, this is a very interesting point. I was watching one of the lectures of Rakesh Godwani. I don't know if anyone of you know him. He's a professor at IIM.
Oh,
He was giving this lecture on how he got recruited, and he could not answer a single question, any a single technical question he could not answer. But post the internship was over, post the interview was over, and like it was almost his time to leave the room. He just
I'm so
thought
sorry.
of talking to the interviewers, like, sir, how
Just a
was your
second. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
what?
I'll have to. I have a call. I have a very important call. I'm so sorry. I'll just be
Okay,
back.
okay, sure, no problem. So there, I think he just went on to talk with all the recruiters as to like how was your day, how did you come in, अभी रिक्शा मिल रहा है कि नहीं, आप बस से
Oh,
आए हैं या टैक्सी से आए हैं? And post that he got hired, and the reason for he getting hired that the company gave was the technical skills. I guess the company can teach you in a month, but
but soft skills are something that is inherited to each and
yeah,
every student. Yeah, so I
yeah,
think that is definitely something that the companies do look out for in every candidate. We see a
yeah,
lot about we see it in the PMG leadership programs, even in the Unilever Future Leaders program as well. This is something that they look out for in their candidates, as like how communicative they are with others, how much of like how much of a team player they actually are. Because something this is in the process industry line, this is something that brings about a lot of change. With a good team leader, you can actually create a lot of like what should I say, like progress in any project.
sure. Arvind, how was your way of getting selected? You first, because I think you sat for placements twice, right? First for Real and then for
Not exactly. I don't. I didn't exactly say for the BSF placement thing because I was already in the BSF Mumbai office. My placement story was not exactly my placement story. Technically, it was a BSF internship.
yeah. So,
So yeah.
so tell us about that story. How did you?
Yeah,
How did
so
you get?
basically, like when I was looking up into the BSF career portals page, I saw a very fancy posting in Hong Kong, like a very fancy posting in Hong Kong, and the requirements clearly read, like must need a master's degree, must need an MBA or an MBA's degree. I was like, मेरे पास दोनों नहीं है, मैं फिर भी करेगा. And I did apply. I did apply. And obviously, like 3 days later, Arvind, we have seen many other better candidates than you. And I was like, oh, surprising. So yeah, so then my dad was also telling, like that dad was just dad heard about this and he was telling this to his like friend and also Reliance as well, and he was like, oh, acha. And then even uncle also laughed, I guess. I mean, I think he should have. It was quite embarrassing. So then he was like, okay, Arvind, तो एक काम कर सकता है क्या? Like could you send out to your
Arvind, could you just take your mic a bit close to your mouth?
yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, what had happened was, like after this embarrassing story of applying to a master's position and then getting surprisingly rejected. I don't know how. I don't know. I think I missed a degree or two, maybe. It is just up to subject, I guess. So yeah. So then after that, like uncle just told me, like, could you just write an application to this HR person I know in BASF, and then if they know if they have any openings, then they'll get back to me. So when I like forwarded my CV to them, they held a preliminary interview with me as in like where exactly do my interests lie? Is it in R&D? Is it in process engineering? Or is it in business development? And I told them like I'd like to venture into business development. And then they were like, okay, then we'll see if there's any active positions in like if there's any active position in that venture anywhere. And luckily at that time there was one. So so I got a call back from them again that stating that Arvind, you have an interview scheduled at this time. in the BSF Mumbai office, and my interview was held by Lakshmish Prabhu sir. He's currently the business director for Care Chemicals. And then like, so the whole interview process happened as in, like, Arvind, buy this field and all that. So they were pretty clear on, like, wanting me for, like, they were pretty clear that if I was selected, I would be given this particular project. So how comfortable I was. So even they were looking out if I wanted this thing or not. So yeah, then after that, then I got assigned my department, and then, like, the entire internship happened in the February to May division as such.
So, in that interview, like, what happened? Tell us a bit about that interview.
So yeah, the first thing that, so first thing that, when I logged in, the first thing they asked me was to, introduce myself and to run my CV by them, because at that time I think I accidentally sent them a two-page CV. I think so. I think it was one of my older two-page CVs which I now deleted and made into one-page CV. So there was when they saw it, so the first thing they asked me was to, run by their CV, as in what was my work in ESOM, what exactly did I do during my, like, the Coursera courses, what was exactly happening, and what exactly did I do in my Reliance internships. Yeah. So basically, as in, asking me what exactly did I do in my internships, and then when I told them about, like, the the Reliance internship and the paint industry, so even they were curious. And then when I saw the, then I was saying that even they knew a lot about, like, the paint sector, because even I think Soar has also worked in the coating division as well. So yeah, so even he was something curious in that regard, as in, what exactly did I do. And then on that, they were, questioning me on what exactly did I do and what exactly did I not do during the internship. So yeah, so I
What
did
exactly you did not do? Like,
do, as in, like, what exactly
not,
were the points missing for my project, because it was a 1 month project into the paint industry for a product line. So obviously I think that I, by again, so definitely when sir told me that these were things missing out, I was like, they were, so he was not surprised with that. They were missing, and I was like, why did I miss out on them? I was like, good story. So yeah, I mean, like, so obviously then I knew that, these people definitely knew a lot, even before the paint industry was, like, even before my project was made. So yeah, so definitely one thing that they were looking out for, what exactly was my approach to the market research thing, because even this project that they gave me was based on primary market research itself. So this was something that they could judge me on. So then after that, then they questioned me, like, what exactly did I write during my articles in ESOM, and why writing or speaking as such. So then after that, I think it was a smooth process, because after that interview, then I got my, like, call that, yeah, this project is available and they're selecting you for it, and then yeah, the basic registration and all that.
and any technical questions, like, tell me something about mass transfer or heat transfer or
Nothing
this,
of that
that,
sort. No,
nothing.
because yeah, the company, like, even this is not something that you see in every role. Like, the questions that you're asking is available. Like, they definitely do ask these students, but since the role was in around revolving around business development, so yeah, they did not ask me any of the technical questions in that regard. But if you're sitting for, like, let us suppose that Shell comes in for their R&D positions, then definitely people shouldn't be surprised that, oh my god, they asked us these technical questions, like, what is mass transfer, what is the significance of the first law of thermodynamics, what is the significance of the third law of thermodynamics. One shouldn't be surprised. So one should be, for example, even when I think Nestle is also currently coming into our campus, and I think that is for the role of a technical trainee. So I wouldn't be surprised if they ask candidates about the, like, what exactly is mass transfer, where exactly does it find its application. So I think this is something that people do miss out on or do sleep on, like, okay, you know what, I'll just brief up my HR rounds, I'll, then I can easily sail through my technical rounds, but this is not something that happens for every candidate. Okay, so again, in my case, again, your technical questions did not show up, but I'm pretty sure if I had applied for a technical role, then this was something that they would have definitely asked.
Sure, sure. Now, since, I mean, thank you firstly for sharing all those information. I mean, I'm, I think most of the people don't know how the hiring process of BSF goes. At least I did not know about it. It's really cool how BSF hires people.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically,
Yeah, we're
again,
not exactly sure if we should be telling you all this, but okay.
I don't think we did say anything, like, super
Yeah,
confidential or
I don't
anything,
think that's
but
anything
yeah.
that is
But the
against the
basic
company.
idea was here that, when these companies come, companies like Reliance or companies like BASF, they make their intention very clear on which role they're hiring for.
Okay.
So so if, and, if BASF is coming for a production engineering role, one should always brush up on their concepts of chemical engineering, because this is something that they will definitely ask. Since Soumya's role was more with regards to business development and supply chain management, So obviously the first thing that they will ask is questions that are geared towards teamwork. So the idea of working around a crisis in a boat is also something similar to working around a crisis in a warehouse. Like there is shortage of products, or there is like too much inventory. This is something that people have to innovate or work around it on their own, like real life time. So this is definitely BASF or any other company will obviously hold recruitments around the same in this regard, because
And
even I've heard like a lot of placement stories in IITs as well. So when technical companies come for consultancy roles in the chemical engineering roles, so the first thing that they would do is recreate an industrial problem to them and tell them to solve that, similar to a HR, similar to a management problem like they gave to Soumya.
I see. That's great. Fine. I'll just end this interview with this last question for both of you. Both of you have been a student, and now you people are interning at BSF, which is amazing. So you've been on both sides of the table, right? So what do you think are the hits and the misses that any student or any, let's say, a fresher, they like? What are the flaws that every fresher brings on the table when they come for an interview? That's the first question. The second thing is, do you feel that the entire recruitment process in the coming years, it's just going to change, especially with the, with this entire uprising of LinkedIn and this entire, this boom on LinkedIn where everybody is now focusing on getting connected, requesting for internship and this and stuff. Do you think that in the coming future, the entire recruitment process is going to change? It's going to be more of like, let's say, the American recruitment system where no companies really come to your campus and stuff, but you actually go on to like post your engineering or post your course, you actually go on to apply and hunt for a job. Do you think that is how it is going to change?
I wouldn't say like there would be a very big change in that seminar, because when companies, at least for my chemical engineering sector, when I even speak for company or campuses like IITs or NITs, they hire roles in batches, because they know that the major reason that these companies hire in batches is because they know every student there is equivalent in their degree and equivalent in their knowledge. All right. So the department that they are set up in, there is no knowledge deficiency as such. So these companies, they hire in batches and they put those batches to work itself. So there is, and those batches are all the same. Like if you're hiring for a BTA or a business development analyst, then every graduate there has a BTech degree or a BTech degree in a specific branch. So I don't think there will be a very big difference when it comes to like recruitment in batches, but there will be a major shift in like how do you assess candidates, because currently we see a lot like being done in companies like Nestle and PNG, wherein they don't exactly have the conventional what should I say, assessment questions like there are 5 boxes and there are 3 letters. In how many ways can you post the letters? I don't think that you'd be seeing questions like that being asked in the assessment of PNG and Nestle. I think it will be more of a psych evaluation assessment. Okay, so psychometrics is something that will be picking up along the lines, and when companies come for these online tests, I think students should also be prepared for these psychometric questions as well.
Can you
Correct. I
really
see.
prepare for symmetric question? I mean, symmetric isn't
As
it
in, like
supposed to be
psychometric
like,
is more of an inbuilt, but then you
yeah.
can definitely look out for the types of questions that they can ask, and like if the questions revolve around the field of arithmetic, then something could definitely be done there.
I think the basic thing you can do is practice puzzles.
And that would also definitely help. And it's something
Yeah,
to get the brain running.
helps a lot.
I
Yeah.
see. I see. But you don't really believe that in the chemical sector, the entire recruitment is going to shift completely to LinkedIn, like where people with more connections or more ability to reach out or with more ability to put out their projects, make them communicable, they are going to get hired.
Campus placements in like India, they work different as done in like the way you see them in North America, as in where there are individual line postings. But when you come into like campus postings in India, it is done in a batch-wise phase, as like the batch of 2021 of BASF, batch of 2021 of Reliance. They hire in this exact pattern, because currently there when they hire for roles, I don't think they leave directly after 2 years. Correct? I don't think so. There is that big of a leave frequency. But in India, when you hire for the BTech roles, generally by the next 2 years, people run off for their masters, people run
Yeah.
off for their MBAs. So the companies even analyze this, and even they have their attrition rates figured out. You might think that they don't exactly know that how many candidates leave, but they do, and they analyze that, I guess currently these many students are leaving, so we can estimate that these many students will also leave by the next year. So that is how they plan their openings as well. So since these also run into batches, so yeah, by the end of next 2 years, even the companies know that since you're not offering them into any management roles, they're keeping them down at the junior level roles as such, because it's an early career program. So even they know by the next 2 years they'll just simply leave. So the companies hire in that trend itself. I don't think this trend is there in the North America or in the European regions as such. I'm not exactly aware, so I'm only speaking for the Indian roles in manufacturing or in Indian roles in this, because currently even I think even Soumya and I will also leave for their masters or MBAs after the next 5 to 3 years as such.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why even the companies already have a plan for it, and that is why they come to campus recruitment in terms of batches. Because as far as I'm aware, Soumya, I think even BASF recruited in a whole batch system wise, right? Like a lot of students were selected,
Excuse me.
like around 5 to 6.
What BSF does is they come alternate years to recruit people. Like if they came this year, they won't come next year. They'll come the year after that, and then they'll recruit 6 to 7 more interns. And then it depends on the vacancy if they'll actually get placed in the company. But
Yeah.
that is how it goes.
Fine. Finally, how saturated do you think today the chemical sector is for jobs, or let's say for internship, especially with the pandemic coming in?
No, again, it's a very subjective answer, because again, when
Chemical
since you
sector,
are
I mean, let's say oil and gas sector. Let's be a bit more specific.
again, first of all, to be honest, I think there is a new opportunity for oil and gas here. Since you're an oil and gas, since you're an oil and gas enthusiast, right? So even you must have seen that the fuel consumption in petroleum has decreased year by year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so
I
even
guess
you've seen
the
it, right?
renewable fuel, like for example, Exxon is at present working on
On bioalgae
algae-based
fuels.
bioalgae
Yeah,
fuels. They're
definitely.
spending a lot
So
on
even
that.
you must have seen the trend, right? Like
Yeah,
so
even though there hasn't been much success to that
yeah.
as of yet.
So currently it is something that they're working on. I don't know how successful they'll be, but they're taking a lot of future on it. So let's hope that something does come out of it. It's Exxon after all. But yeah, even you must have seen like the fuel consumption for petroleum has gone down year by year. Even the oil companies have seen it. So the recent trend that I have noticed is that these companies are now shifting from an oil to fuel segment to an oils to chemical segment. So we see a lot of companies like Reliance, even Shell. I think even Sinopec. I think it's the China's official oil petroleum manufacturer, right? So even they are now investing newer units. Even Aramco and Sebek, even they are shifting their focus from oil to fuel to oil to petrochemicals, wherein
Yeah,
they're manufacturing paraxylene. So that is something that like the industry will then work on, because paraxylene is also a very key important ingredient into a lot of chemical manufacturing segments. So these companies, even they realize that why make fuel when when petroleum cars are simply being phased out by electric ones, or
especially with Tesla coming into the market,
yeah.
I guess Tesla is
Yeah.
slowly going to enter in a real big way.
I mean, even Ford is going to. I think Ford has a better chance of beating Tesla in this electric motor vehicle race. But let's leave that to
That's
another
up for
topic.
debate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's up for debate, and I don't exactly want to go into it. But yeah, I think even the oil giants also realize that when you spend too much on fuel, and with like travel being curbed, with these pandemic restrictions, even fuel consumption will be curbed. So even they have shifted their focus and to make it into a oil to petrochemical segment. I think Aramco and Sevek are leading in this design. Making
Yeah.
useful chemicals out of these so they could be utilized for other branches. Because we see, in the paint industry, a lot of the ingredients that they use is derived from the oil and petroleum industry. So any fluctuations in oil does definitely affect them.
Sure, and especially, I mean, with this entire work from home system, I guess if you look into the number of transits that people used to make, let's say from one country
Yeah,
to another or one city to another, that has also reduced. So the aviation fuel demand is also, I guess, is going to reduce in the coming sector. So what I think, I know, Arvind, exactly along your line, that slowly the focus from oil and gas is going to shift to crude to petrochemicals, because
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
especially with this pandemic, because of syringe making and all of those, you need polymeric chemistry, you need petrochemical.
Yeah, definitely. So, like the focus will then be completely shifting from utilizing it for just simply energy to, making it into, I think paraxylene is, again, I think I've spoken a lot about it, but so yeah, it is generally a lot of chemicals are derived from paraxylene. To name a certain few, I think it would be TPA, terephthalic acid, would be one of them,
BPA,
even DMT as well.
BPA.
dimethyl pentathiacylate or something like that. So these chemicals are also used a lot in the industry. So even the oil giants have realized this and are focusing their product lines to this as well. And
That's
also
great.
when it comes into the oil and gas relevance into energy, because of the pandemic, I think the solar sector has gotten a very big boost. We see companies like Adani, we see companies like even Reliance venturing into solar. And recently, I've also heard about articles where NextEra and uh, Enel Green Power, I think even they're there. Even they're taking on titans like ExxonMobil and Shell in matters of energy as well. So you don't exactly see this 10 years ago, 10 years ago, no. But currently, you do see a lot of solar giants being made, even with GE making a lot of, what would I say, giant gains in solar. I think they have a lot of wind farms in Vadodara as well. So yeah, we see like with when it comes into the oil and gas sector, it will like to some extent lose its relevance in the coming years. As in before like
Oil and gas in the sector of, let's say, fueling sector, it is going to
yeah,
lose
fuel
its
sector
relevance.
will be
But the
reducing, but
petrochemicals, it is
the
going to have
petrochemicals market will be getting a big boost,
Fine.
definitely.
So all the chemical engineers work more towards petrochemicals. Okay, chances of you earning money is more there. Okay, so with that, I'm pretty sure we are left with a bit more, many more questions. And Arvind, I would have someday loved to also know as to the the hiring process at Reliance, the placement process. I think that's pretty straightforward. Like
Yeah.
OT, then GD, then interview, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's very much along the technical lines. So
Mm.
anyway, so I guess am I right on that, Arvind?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and again those basic technical questions they ask in Reliance, I guess. Yeah.
Hmm.
So surely we can go on with this discussion as long as we can, but I guess we have over exceeded the time also. So thank you, Arvind and Soumya. It was a real fun and lot of learning from this interview. I learned a lot. I'm pretty sure the viewers will also learn a lot from this interview. Thank you so much for making this session so fun, so much of laughter. One more thing that I'll take away from this interview is Arvind's attitude, especially while he is filling up on the recruitment and just going for a job. Oh yeah, I have missed this. We all should adapt
It
that
does
kind
not
of
matter if they want a master's degree. I'm still applying for it no matter.
yeah. So just this chill bill attitude, I guess we all should adopt. And Soumya, thank you so much. You just lighten up the entire interview
Oh,
session. Thank
thank
you
you.
so
You
much.
didn't let me answer the last question, did you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, please go on. Please go on. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please.
Uh, it's okay. It's okay.
No, please. I don't want you to leave the interview unsatisfied, so feeling कि अरे तीन
I'm
घंटे
not. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है.
no, no,
But
no.
yeah, I think Arvind like kind of overshadowed everything because of his like immense knowledge and the amount of things that he's kept up with in the chemical industry. While I'm just like, oh, मेरे को तो बस team चाहिए, मेरे को management करना है.
That is
So,
also a very valid answer, I must say. Again, that is something that definitely students want and down
yeah,
the line.
because like personally, I'm not that into chemical sector or into the chemical politics. I'm just like मेरे को बस management करना है, logistics संभालना है, inventory handle करना है, बस चलता है. So coming to your question, what I would suggest to freshers and to anyone who's in college, just try to make an holistic profile of yourself and try to, explore as many things as you can, during your college years, because that is when you realize what you really want to do. I came with the mindset that I want to place into a company with at least 12 lakhs per annum ka package, and I want to get into Reliance or I want to get into Shell, and मेरे को और कोई company नहीं चाहिए, मेरे को सिर्फ बड़ी बड़ी companies चाहिए. And with that mindset, and it was pretty like it was baseless because I didn't know about how the chemical sector works or how recruitments happen. I was just like पैसे चाहिए, अच्छी कंपनी में चाहिए काम, बस खत्म. So, and throughout the 4 years, my whole point of view has changed into how you can actually research and strategize your recruitment process and how you can create more career opportunities for yourself and what you can explore. And there's literally so much to explore even when you're just a BTech graduate. So coming from that point of view, I would say go into as many clubs as you can and go into, participate in as many events as you can in the fests or in any event that is being organized in your club or in your college, and just explore about what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, how you can improve yourself in general. And coming to the recruitment process, the recruitment process in India can never be as good as or as as an American recruitment process because of the amount of engineering graduates that are released every single year. Because the demand and the supply do not match at all. Because there is not much demand as too much supply. So there will always be people, there'll always be companies coming for campus placements. There'll always be, that placement season ka stress for at least like 5 to 10 years because our population is not deteriorating, it's only increasing. And the job opportunities, considering the COVID scenario, वो भी इतने बढ़ने नहीं वाले हैं. So there's always going to be competition between the graduates for
It's not बढ़ने नहीं वाला है in the oil and gas sector, you're saying?
yeah, in oil and gas and in like any chemical sector in general, because like Arvind mentioned, the oil and gas opportunities are decreasing. But also there can be a boom in the renewable energy wala sector, or there can be solar energy wala sector. There can be, a bit more openings, but they would always look for people with a bit more experience and with, a bit of like, that experience of handling a chemical industry. They wouldn't exactly look for interns. I mean, but there can be, I think I'm not really sure because I haven't done that much research into the sector, but I can say that yeah, there can be a few opportunities in the renewable sector, but not in the oil sector.
In the coming time.
Yeah, in the coming time.
Okay, so that's quite a lot to take away from this interview. Okay, so thank you to two of you. Why did I include myself? Yeah, Arvind and Soumya for I had a real good afternoon chat today. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
same again. We just had
Same
fun
here.
talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can you just do one last thing for us? Can you just look into the screen and say that please subscribe to Oilgasm? We will be
Oh,
very happy.
Please subscribe for Oilgasm and press the bell button as well.
Yeah,
It
the
should
bell
ring
icon.
your- the bell icon, the bell icon, the bell icon.
Ah, Hi, we really hope that you enjoyed this interview with Soumya and Arvind. I hope it was informative. You got some idea as to how you can get placed in BASF, Drill, or SUEZ, and what are the things that you need to keep in mind. Now, here is a small request to all of you. Please do subscribe to our channel. Do like and share our video with as many people as you know, with your friends, with your families, or whosoever is interested into working in the energy sectors. So with that, I'll see you in the next episode of Oil Placements and probably in some other projects too. See you.